Alright, so today I have chosen an electronic journal article talking about tourist travel. And so I've opened it on Explorer, and this is a very basic kind of setting. So you can write, so example, do that, right, and then erase it. Or you can highlight. So the most important thing about opening an electronic journal is to make sure that it is PDF compatible. So some articles, when they are scanned from books, they cannot be highlighted. So that's just one of the limitations of using this method. All right, so let's have a look at the abstract. Okay, so let's start. Tourism is traditionally treated as an escape from everyday life, and tourism theory is concerned with extraordinary places. Tourism and everyday life are conceptualized as belonging to different ontological worlds. So I decided that this is important. So what does it mean? What does ontological world means? So ontology is usually the study of, like the origins of being. So in this sense, they're trying to say that they will study, how tourism and everyday life are seen as opposites. Okay, so that's it. So that's tourism and everyday life are seen as different ontological worlds. Right, so the former is the world of extraordinary, while the latter is one of the ordinary. Now, here you would like to decide if you agree or not. So there are two ways you can do this. Sometimes I write, so I will do this. And I can write, for example, agree, right? That, okay. Or I can also use the notes method where I do this. So do that and add a note. So I'll say that tourism or traveling is something extraordinary, while everyday life is. So here, engaging with text means that you constantly need to ask yourself questions and see if the author tries and explain them to make you understand the article better. So one question that I can think about is, what is the problem of such binary? Why have we conceptualized this difference? Okay, there we go. And at any time when you open this article again, you would see your note there. Okay, next. So this interdisciplinary review article argues that this separation is flawed. Fantastic. So there you go. So it's going to critique the same question that I've just asked by examining research that shows how leisure travel, tourism, and everyday life intersect in a complex way. Now, I think this is an important statement, so I'm going to change the color. So leisure travel, tourism, and everyday life intersect in complex ways. Now, if this was an actual paper, I would draw on it, but perhaps you might want to think about drawing a circle like that, like a Venn diagram. Right, so because I don't have an actual pen, I'm using my finger to do this. So this is the portion that it intersects, right? But the question now is whether the intersection is only in the middle or on the sides. Okay, so let's do that. So it intersects. Okay. Of course, this is a terrible drawing, so if you can draw better than me, please go ahead and do that. Okay, so this article outlines how everyday routines and conventions inform tourism performance. It's fantastic. So look at that. Everyday routines and conventions. Right, so what does this mean? What does this mean? It means that you shouldn't separate them, that they are related to each other, and this confirms this, right? So I have a signal or sign for relationships, which is this. Okay, so this is just a relationship to show that they form a continuous sort of feedback mechanism, right? So that everyday routines inform tourism performances, or they affect tourism performances, and it's like a feedback cycle. We will look at the conclusion in a bit. So after you've done this, it's important to save, okay, so that you would have this next time you open it. So now look into the conclusion and see what it talks about. So throughout the article, it's useful to do the same thing, right? To highlight what you don't understand, what questions you would like to have answered. Sometimes there are questions or thoughts that you have that has nothing to do with this reading, and your job as well a researcher or a student is to find articles that can help you answer that. All right, so let's read the conclusion. This article has documented the need to de-exoticize tourism theory, not to dispense with exogenous research, but to make space within theory for everydayness. So they have argued that everyday life should be central to future tourism research because it is not. Okay. Okay. Okay, so we know that. Now let's see what is the value of this article. Has outlined how everyday routines influence tourism performance, right? But I'm not sure how many tourism. Okay, we know that already. Connections. Oh, okay. Connections. There is still great need for research in this field. Okay. Ties to. Oh, this is interesting. Right. So future studies should pay attention to the fabric of everyday practices of real holiday experiences. So the fabric of everyday practices of real holiday experiences. Now, what does this mean? Well, I suppose, well, in the article, it's probably going to explain a bit more. But just from reading this, I am guessing, everyday interactions like setting an alarm. Well, that's, yeah, waking up, doing the same routines that you do while you're traveling, and breakfast, lunch, and dinner. These are things that are the same throughout your day, regardless of whether or not you are traveling. Right, and okay, so the fabric of everyday practices and how it both ties into and occasionally departs. Right, so remember when I was so remember I said earlier about breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So at home you have probably a routine. You have your favorite cup, you have your favorite kind of butter, and of course you eat at regular intervals. But when you're traveling, this sometimes gets overturned. You're forced to eat different things, of course. And some people they sort of combine their meals. So what I do usually is to wake up at like I don't know 10 or something, and then just eat lunch for breakfast. Yep. Uh-huh. So there we go. So as I just said, right to eat strange food, mouth forwards, using familiar toilets. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. The everyday characteristic of tourist spaces. Yes. So, this is very interesting because we forget that tourist spaces are actually everyday spaces for other people. So, looking at the everyday characteristics, which I think is very interesting, so let's just highlight that. It's very important. Right, so, there has been an obsession with places that are extraordinary, right? So these are, like pyramids or like Angkor Wat, massive places that are tourist attractions. But, ordinary tourist places are sometimes ignored. So here we go, such as, well, I mean, this might be a bit extreme, but McDonald's, Starbucks, and Western style supermarkets. I thought, for me, when I go into any country, I actually do like to do this. I compare different kinds of food that's available in McDonald's, the kind of specials in Starbucks, and definitely I love going to the supermarkets because you get to see and compare the prices of food, and you get to buy things that normal people eat in the various countries, and that's very, very interesting. Hmm. This is a very interesting line. um, I probably going to read the article further, but just thinking about this, have you ever thought about it, right? So I'm going to put a note. Right. Right. So this is a question that I want to think about. So how the comfort of social media, the kind of unchanging pattern of our social consumption is replicated even when we travel. Also, right, does it mean when the extraordinary, sorry, when travel becomes part of an everyday discourse, the need to share on social media? Well, this is just some questions that I am thinking about, but you might think about something else, okay? Well, I will stop here, but I think that this has given me enough information. And for those of you who don't have a lot of time to read, I think this is a good way to, get a gist of the article. So you just read the abstract and then read the conclusion. Um, Usually that gives you an idea of what the article is about.